Hi and welcome to another episode of Passport to Payments. This time, for the first time ever, we're at FIBE Berlin and we have our signature Enfuse sauna behind us. The weather's really good, so I'm excited to be here. Today I'm joined by Lars Markull. You're an expert in embedded finance, maybe an influencer should I say. Tell us a bit about yourself. What's a focus area in embedded finance for you personally right now?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. I spent the last 10 or more so years in fintech and completely on the fintech infrastructure side. So I always worked in startups and early stage companies, enabling other companies to build fintech products. So I've been involved in a lot of different projects, many that succeeded, others that failed. So I've seen a lot. And since leaving my last employer a couple of years ago, I'm working as an independent consultant, working with companies exactly on those challenges. Yeah, and on the side, I started this small little blog called Embedded Finance Review, which over time has grown into a newsletter, a podcast, and event series. And I enjoy sharing my experiences, my knowledge, but also talking to people in the space who know a lot about their specific areas and make it available to those people who are building embedded finance out there.
And so by doing this, you're so at the center of embedded finance. I feel like it's partly a buzzword, something companies and everyone speaks about all the time. But you being in it, what's one shift that you see that maybe others haven't clocked yet?
I think that one of the big challenge about embedded finance is we're talking here about like five financial products and in a definite number of potential areas, industries, right? So as you said, some people I guess like myself as well, are very much in the center and they see a lot. I sometimes, for example, speak also to people who say like, well, embedded finance is not really there. I don't really see anything embedded finance. And I think that's always like the point where I say, look, there's so many things happening, specifically in the B2B world, where it's in specific industries and specific softwares. And I cover on a weekly basis new product launches, new partnership launches with companies who are doing that. And every week I'm surprised to see new areas, new software companies, new marketplaces, vertical software service business who are launching different financial products. But again, it's sometimes payment, it's sometimes banking, sometimes lending, or even insurance or investment in some cases.
You know, what I find with embedded finance is that it helps when you give examples, because the use cases are endless. Yeah. Do you have a few really cool examples from, lately?
Yeah, I mean, I think a very common example is vertical software as a service, software as a service solution that target like specific industries. So we're talking here about softwares. Maybe they're not so much in embedded finance yet, but companies like Doctorlib, for example, who are providing software for doctors, for bookkeeping, and they're now extending the whole platform to a lot more use cases. And they have a partnership with fintech companies to provide financial services to doctors as well. Of course, starting with payment at the first thing, but then potentially later going into other areas as well. So I think there are a lot of examples. Another one is probably, we've seen it over the last couple of months specifically, is marketplaces, specifically restaurant delivery companies, companies from like Volt and Uber Eats and so on. I think I covered all of them over the last couple of months in my newsletter. And I think by now there's not any of the big brands who are not doing one lending products in some kind of market. And I think that's a uniqueness about embedded finance, is that these companies, these delivery companies, understand the customers so well. When a restaurant goes to a bank and applies for a funding, they very often struggle with, do I even get the loan? How much work do I have to put in there? I have to go put probably in person. There's a lot of investment where I think it's probably I'm not really eligible anyway. Whereas in the platform, you get sometimes even pre-approved loans because they know so much about you. They can service these financial products in a very, very different way.
You mentioned food delivery companies. My first night in Berlin yesterday, I go to this hamburger restaurant and they are cash only. Yeah. And I'm on a business trip. I don't have cash with me. I'm like, shame, how do I do this? But then I saw a lot of Volt delivery drivers. Yeah. So I opened the app and I basically order my food to the restaurant. Yeah. I'm already there. Yeah. I was able to pay with my card. Everything's embedded. They are happy, I'm happy. I felt like I was cheating the payment flow a little bit, but that is a use case of actual embedded finance. And I'm not even using the app for delivery. Yeah, I mean, as a burden enough to say sorry that you still encounter this. It's definitely still more the rule than the exception, that places are cash only. We do see a change, so I think both on the government side and in Germany as well, they're pushing stronger for restaurants also to accept digital, at least one digital method as well. They can still accept cash, but also it's still in the process, this thing, so it's not there yet. But we do see
the trend happening. So yeah, I think so far, even within Germany, Berlin is a city where there's still a lot of cash-based, but I think it's slowly going away, hopefully.
And maybe these embedded finance use cases are the path forward, making it really easy for the consumer, where restaurants then have to adapt.
Exactly.
Well, a lot of people, they still treat embedded finance as a feature rather than a business model. And I think this goes hand in hand with that restaurant conversation. Where do you see that companies get it wrong today in terms of feature versus business model?
What I used to say is the really, really important piece when you are, as a non-financial brand, when you want to offer fintech products, is the companies who are doing it wrong often do it because they can. I mean, nowadays we're in a lucky situation. We have companies like Enfuse. We have a lot of providers for very different areas of embedded finance who can do a lot, right? So it's not really much the question like, how can I build it? It's more like, how do I embed it? And I think the companies who are really doing really well are the companies who spend maybe as much time as on integrating the financial service providers, on the embedding it into the core product. Because at the end of it, from my perspective, if a non-financial brand offers a financial product and it still feels very much comparable to a traditional bank or even to a neobank, the product failed. What the product should be like an invisible part of the journey. So coming back to the restaurant delivery provider again, like pre-approved loans within the dashboard without having to enter additional data. This is something completely unique, and a bank can never do that, right? And I think non-financial brands should build fintech products when they can provide this uniqueness. If they are just another brand doing another financial product, some of them succeed as well, but it's definitely a lot harder to do that.
Yeah, in order to succeed, if it's just another product, the barriers to entry are high. How do you get consumers to really be interested in it? You have to maybe provide cashback, the proposition needs to be so unique that it becomes very costly. So you speak to a lot of people being an expert in this field, both operators, founders, leaders across the ecosystem. What's one use case or vertical where embedded finance is quietly becoming essential?
I mean, I think we touched on that before, right? I think if I have to pick two type of, let's say, companies, it's definitely like the marketplaces / platforms and the vertical software as a service companies. I think for different reasons, like we talked a lot about the restaurant platforms, right? But even in e-commerce, right? Even the Shopifys, the eBays, the Amazons, all these companies today also provide a funding feature similar, or lending feature similar to the companies who are doing it for the restaurants, right? They provide a loan to the sellers on these platforms. They understand them really well, how much they're selling, and I've heard insights of companies like who provide this infrastructure, because they have so much data now about all these merchants, they know exactly when a certain merchant is a kind of a tipping point where they're still small, but all the numbers that they have done over the past weeks and months indicates they are on a very growth spiral, and they know that funding is very often holding them back. There's always this famous interview from a Shopify leader back in the days who said they didn't really want to get into lending back in the days. They didn't really want to be a bank, but when they spoke to every single merchant, asking them about the biggest pain point, financing was always the top 3 for all of them. So they figured they have to solve that. So I think marketplaces, platforms, and this is very strong on lending nowadays. Obviously, payments, a lot of these companies doing anyway already, because payments is part of the program. And then the vertical software as a service solutions. By definition, a vertical solution, we talked about Dr. Lip, but it's for craftsmen, for cleaners, for any kind of job you can potentially provide these vertical software as a service. By definition, a vertical software as a service does a lot of things for one profile, for one person, right? It's not the generic accounting tool that anybody can use. It's the accounting, CRM, messaging, and so on for one specific target group. And since they're bundling a lot of these features for one target group, financial services are actually a lot earlier on the roadmap. So here we're seeing a lot about banking, but also lending and payment use cases. I would say generally, if I compare it to Europe, to the US, we're still in vertical software service a little bit behind in terms of the providers. So I would say there's more action with the bigger brands on marketplaces and platforms. But I think then also in vertical software service, we're seeing a lot of launches. And all these things, we have to be honest, takes time as well, right? So for those people who are saying I don't see so much, it's you need to launch a product, you need to get customer feedback, you need to improve, you need to roll out more features. That takes time. But very often now we're seeing the project that started a year ago or sometimes even before that.
I think you're right with the fact that customers also has to understand that, I can go this route. I don't necessarily need an incumbent tier 1 bank for my company that I have in cleaning, for example. You could have everything from one platform.
Exactly.
And the bank account is a side part of that. Final question. We fast forward a few years, look into the future. You have infinite resources. What does a great embedded finance use case actually look like?
I mean, a little bit coming back to what I said before, right? I mean, it has to be invisible for the user, more or less. I mean, not completely invisible, obviously, but it cannot feel like a traditional flow. Again, when I get a product, a financial product offered from a non-financial brand, and I can just go to a bank and just look at that and just compare the different numbers maybe on the pricing list, and then based on these comparisons make a decision. That's wrong. This should be a unique feature, shouldn't really have any competitors, because it's so well integrated into the core product. And I think this is really the challenge, and obviously companies also take some time with that, understand how to embed it. This is basically the typical product building, right? You need to talk to your customers a lot. It's not just like, I'm a big brand, I can now throw financial products on you. It's more about, I have this customers, I have this brand, but how can I embed this financial product into the existing user journey and solve the pain points? I think the jobs to be done that the customer wants to achieve is a very, very important concept for many of these companies. And again, it takes time. We're seeing companies doing it. We're seeing companies learning. Some, of course, there will be done mistakes and improve on that. But I think generally what we are seeing, what I'm seeing, is a lot of companies making a lot of good traction on that.
Awesome. Really interesting. Thank you, Lars, for taking the time to speak.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it.
And now we're going to the sauna?
Now we got to go in there.